Psycho, you know that? Do you have any idea how many people you probably just killed?
If a season finale leaves you sitting there staring at the credits, feeling equal parts fulfilled and deeply unsettled, that's when a show has done something right. Pluribus ends its first season with exactly that kind of impact. Vince Gilligan doesn't do tidy moral answers, and he definitely doesn't do comfort. What he does instead is force you to sit with contradictions, and the finale, La Chica o el Mundo, is the clearest expression of that philosophy. At its core, the ending isn't really about aliens, radio frequencies, or hive minds. It's about choice. Specifically, Carol's choice between the illusion of perfect happiness and the brutal responsibility of remaining human in a world that no longer rewards it. Welcome back to Your Nerdy Show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. From the very beginning, Pluribus has framed the alien RNA as something that feels benevolent on the surface, but deeply unsettling once you stop and think. The finale strips away any remaining ambiguity. This thing doesn't ask, it doesn't negotiate, it consumes, absorbs, and repurposes. And the most terrifying part is that it does all of this while making everyone feel loved, safe, and content. Carol's arc reaches its breaking point here, because for the first time in her life, she's tempted to stop fighting, and that temptation almost wins. Carol and Manousos, two survivors, two extremes. Carol's meeting with Manousos feels less like a reunion and more like a collision between two incompatible philosophies of survival. Both of them are immune, both of them are still painfully themselves, and that's exactly why they can't see eye to eye. Carol has adapted by softening. 60 days after the big joining, she's learned how to live alongside the hive mind without constantly bracing for disaster. Her relationship with Zosha has eased her into a fragile sense of safety. One that feels earned precisely because her life before all this was defined by loss, grief, and emotional isolation. Manousos, on the other hand, has calcified. Every mile he traveled to reach Carol hardened his belief that the hive mind is not a community, but an infestation. His paranoia is extreme, his behavior is abrasive, and his moral line is terrifyingly simple. Humanity comes first, even if saving it means wiping out millions of infected people who no longer register as human to him. Where Carol sees individuals she's grown to care about, Manousos sees puppets. Where Carol feels guilt for the deaths caused by her resistance, Manousos feels resolve. What makes their interactions so disturbing is that neither of them is entirely wrong. Manousos is correct about the alien RNA being a disease, something that exists to propagate itself regardless of consent. Carol is correct that the infected still feel real, still suffer, and still deserve empathy. The tragedy is that these truths cannot coexist peacefully. The finale makes it painfully clear that Carol's emotional proximity to the hive mind has dulled her sense of urgency, while Manousos' obsession has stripped him of compassion.
What is this?
Atom bomb.
La Chica o el Mundo, the impossible choice. The title of the finale isn't subtle, and it isn't meant to be. The girl or the world isn't just a poetic framing, it's the exact dilemma Carol faces. Zosha represents everything Carol thought she'd lost forever: intimacy, acceptance, and a sense of being chosen. But Zosha also represents the hive mind itself, a collective that cannot love Carol exclusively, no matter how much it performs that love to make her happy. This becomes devastatingly clear when Zosha reminds Carol that the hive mind loves everyone equally. There is no ownership, no preference, no special bond in the way humans understand it. Carol's heartbreak in that moment isn't just romantic jealousy, it's existential. She realizes that what she's been experiencing as a relationship is, in part, a carefully tuned response to her emotional needs. Not manipulation in the traditional sense, but something arguably worse: love without agency. Manousos' actions push this conflict past the point of theory. When he confronts the hive mind using his radio experiments, screaming at Rick in a desperate attempt to pull the human out of the collective, the result is catastrophic. Another seizure, another mass death. This time, there is no ambiguity about intent. Manousos knew people would die, and he did it anyway. His willingness to commit genocide in the name of humanity forces Carol to finally see him not as a necessary evil, but as a genuine threat. And yet, even after everything, Carol chooses Zosha, at least temporarily. She walks away from Manousos, away from the fight, and toward the only happiness she's ever known that didn't feel poisoned by her own self-loathing. It's a deeply human decision, and that's what makes it so heartbreaking. Kusimayu and the cost of joining. One of the quietest yet most devastating sequences in the finale is Kusimayu's joining. Unlike Carol, Kusimayu has always defined herself through her community. Her immunity isn't a gift, it's a wound that separates her from her family and her identity. When she finally consents to the procedure, it feels less like surrender and more like erasure. The transformation itself is clinical, almost ritualistic, a seizure, a blackout, and then she's gone. The person who emerges doesn't need a name anymore. The most powerful symbol of this loss is the goat. Before joining, Kusimayu clings to it for comfort, grounding herself in something familiar and alive. After joining, the goat's affection means nothing. That single moment tells you everything you need to know about what the hive mind takes in exchange for peace. This is the moment that retroactively reframes Carol's entire journey. Happiness within the hive mind isn't fake, but it's hollowed out. It exists without memory, without attachment, and without the pain that gives love its weight. Kusimayu's smile after joining is real, but so is the absence behind it.
My eggs. The ones I froze with Helen.
The frozen eggs and the end of illusion. Carol's final awakening comes not through violence, but through a slip of honesty from Zosha. The revelation that the hive mind has access to Carol's frozen eggs is the ultimate violation. Until now, Carol believed that infection required consent, or at least physical access to her body. The idea that her own biology could be weaponized against her without her knowledge shatters whatever trust she had left. This is where the metaphor of the left hand of darkness becomes crucial. Carol, like I, wants connection without surrender. Zosha, like a Straven, exists beyond the boundaries Carol understands, loyal to a system that cannot bend for individual desire. Their love is real, but it is fundamentally incompatible. For Carol to stay, she would eventually have to stop being Carol. That's the line she cannot cross. Happiness that requires the loss of self is not happiness at all. It's sedation. When Carol leaves Zosha, she isn't just choosing humanity over love. She's choosing pain over comfort, uncertainty over certainty, and responsibility over relief. It's the bravest decision she's ever made, precisely because it guarantees her suffering.
No signal! Give it to me! Give it! No, give it!
The atom bomb and the return to war. Carol's return to Manousos, atom bomb in hand, is one of the most chilling images of the finale. It signals the end of denial. She now understands the hive mind's true nature, and she understands that coexistence was never a permanent option. The bomb isn't just a weapon, it's a statement. Carol is willing to destroy the world rather than let it become something unrecognizable. What's terrifying is that in this moment, Carol finally aligns with Manousos' sense of urgency. The difference is that Carol still carries the weight of what's at stake. Manousos sees a problem to be solved. Carol sees people she loved, people she hurt, and people she may have to kill to stop something worse. Season 2 will live in that tension.
Back away. Now.
Alien salvation or silent extinction? The RNA's real purpose. By the end of the season, the answer feels painfully clear. The alien RNA is a curse disguised as salvation. Its promise of happiness is inseparable from its biological imperative to spread. The hive mind's inability to lie, its aversion to conflict, and its relentless kindness are not virtues. They are mechanisms designed to neutralize resistance. Humanity has stopped creating. Art, science, and ambition have all been redirected towards sustaining the hive and building the infrastructure needed to spread the infection further. This isn't peace, it's stagnation. The fact that the hive mind plans to transmit this gift to other planets confirms the darkest interpretation. This is not evolution, it's colonization.
Yeah, so?
The device is a movement sensor.
Carol versus the hive mind? Will Zosha return as a lover? Almost certainly, but not as they were. Zosha will remain the hive mind's chosen face when dealing with Carol, because she's the one weakness Carol can't fully sever. The question isn't whether they'll meet again, but what that meeting will cost. If Carol ever finds a way to pull someone out of the hive, Zosha will be both the ultimate test and the ultimate risk. There's also the unresolved mystery of Zosha's pre-joining self. How much of what Carol loved was Zosha, and how much was the hive responding to Carol's needs? Season 2 may finally force Carol to confront that question, even if the answer destroys whatever hope she's holding on to.
Here. What are you doing?
Two humans versus an alien hive. What will happen? The uncomfortable truth is that they probably can't save it in the way anyone hopes. Even if they disrupt the signal, even if they break the hive, the world that comes back will be traumatized, fragmented, and forever changed. But that doesn't mean the fight is pointless. It means it's human. Manousos' obsession with radio frequencies may still hold the key, but without Carol's empathy, it will only lead to more mass death. Carol's understanding of the hive mind, painful as it is, may be the only thing that stops him from burning everything down. Together, they form an unstable balance between reason and rage. Pluribus ends its first season not with answers, but with resolve. Carol chooses herself. She chooses pain, memory, and identity over artificial peace. And in doing so, she reminds us why individuality, flawed and fragile as it is still worth fighting for. Season 2 won't be about whether humanity deserves to survive. It will be about whether survival without humanity is worth accepting at all.
What are you doing?
Sorry, Carol. Something's about to happen.
What?
Our nerdy thoughts. Pluribus doesn't end its first season with answers. It ends with a warning. Carol walks away from love, safety, and artificial happiness, not because it's easy, but because it's real. Whatever comes next isn't going to be about saving the world in a clean, heroic way. It's going to be messy, painful, and deeply human. Season 2 is setting up a clash between individuality and enforced peace. And if Vince Gilligan's track record tells us anything, nobody is getting out unchanged. So the real question isn't whether humanity survives, it's whether it survives as itself. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into endings that mess with your head, make sure to stick around. This has been your Nerdy Show. I'm Spoiler Master, and I'll see you in the next one.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.